the time has come to invite our esteemed guests from this panel. Let's see. See if I have all of them. Here we go. To invite all of our esteemed guests onto the panel to answer some of the questions that we have as a result of this premier interview. And what I want to do, Harmeet, especially a little bit before, because I know some people were wondering who you are, and I think maybe I hadn't said it clearly enough, but Harmeet is a lecturer at Hotel School The Hague as well, and Harmeet is the one who will be moderating this discussion. And thank you very much, Bernardo and Dimitrios, for joining us. I love that Dimitrios has a new background, and Bernardo looks similar, but it's different beach. And with that, Harmeet, I think that there's many questions to discuss.
Absolutely.
I presume you have questions as well, and I would love to give the floor to you to take it away for this Q&A.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Tom. And once again, thank you, Dimitrios and Bernardo, for this insightful interview and conversation. So I was just going through the chat, and we have some interesting questions that popped up. So let me start with the first one that came up from Elena. And what she said, and Dimitrios, perhaps if you can start with providing some insights here, is monitoring is a great tool of technology in the hospitality industry to sort of mitigate the negative impacts of COVID or to help with forecasting. But in the European or Western world, especially with the implementation of GDPR and other data privacy laws and regulations, privacy is getting a big challenge. So what are your views on that?
A really difficult situation because the virus does not like the freedom, and we need to self-constrain ourselves in order to fight this pandemic, and that's why countries like China, countries like Vietnam, Hong Kong, and Taiwan have actually done much better because they've kind of appreciated how they need to constrain themselves. It's a difficult one, you know. It's not an easy one, and I think the more we kind of constrain ourselves, the better we can get rid of the virus faster.
No, absolutely. I think that's a valid point over there, and that sort of takes me to Bernardo to sort of add on another comment that was given by Marta, I believe. Is it was said that monitoring and having this ability of agile forecasting might become a competitive advantage in the industry. So do you think there are some challenges in the Western versus the Eastern side of the world when it comes to sort of capitalizing on the gains of this competitive advantage?
So first of all, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening from Shanghai. It's a real pleasure being here today. And look, as Professor Dimitrios said, it's a very difficult question. I do not have the answer, but I can share my experience. So my thoughts is we are under a very exceptional situation, and it's a life-threatening factor. So probably exceptional solutions has to be implemented. So basically, it's a balance in between safety and data protection. But what I can tell you is I do not feel that my personal information is threatened. What I feel is I feel safer. So it's not only related with my personal feelings. It's as well, as long as this is under control, probably is a competitive factor, and economies can recover faster. So at the end, it's probably the response, and it's a quite political response, but it's a balancing between data protection, safety, and economy recovery. So look, is a choice, but what is proven is where there is more technology involved, the recovery is faster and people is more protected.
I'd like to go back for 1 second. While Bernardo was speaking, I was just thinking that if the telephone operators were asking you that in order to have 5G access, you need to use this, or if Facebook or Instagram or Google were saying that it's a precondition that we are using their services to actually provide this information, nobody will think twice, because we are constantly thinking about where do we give our data, but actually we are constantly giving our data to the telephone operators because they know exactly where we are, for how long we are there, where would we stay, where did we sleep, where did we move. And also Facebook, Instagram, and Google in particular, they know absolutely everything about us. So I think there's a bigger kind of question about privacy in the longer term and technology, because I think we've seen the end of privacy. And there are very few people who have actually ditched their smartphones on the sea, and they are operating in a totally secure environment where their privacy is totally respected.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that is when it comes to privacy, there's always a discussion of how much we know in terms of how much data a company already has versus what we think they have and how much we want to give up. Maybe what we don't want to give up is something that they already have. And this sort of brings me to another viewpoint that was interestingly brought up by Lucia as well, is that, Dimitrios, when we talk about technology, is a lot of places like China and now in Europe, they're starting the whole notion of green certificates or how or another good term for it, or vaccine passports. That literally is something that you have with you that shows that you're vaccinated. Is that some kind of technology that you believe could aid tourism in Europe? Because Bernardo, I believe in China, they already are making use of such QR code technology. Yeah.
Right.
So what are your views on that?
Yeah. No, but see, I would like to clarify in the QR code we are using in China and in other countries in Asia. Your vaccination situation is already related to your code, and so it's part of the whole process. You have your code, you have your health status, you have your vaccination, and even you include your PCR tests. So everything is in one code.
I think Bernardo is absolutely right, and I was reading yesterday on the BBC what's called the Swiss cheese process of managing COVID, and I'll put that on the chat in a minute for everybody to see. And the idea is that, like the Swiss cheese that has got different qualities, we've got different layers of protection, and one of these layers of protection is exactly that: is using digital apps and digital passports. Now, in Europe, the Greek Prime Minister, Kyriakos Mitsotakis, brought that forward, and he has put that as a proposal to the European Commission. And in the beginning, a lot of people kind of found that quite challenging and quite difficult to accept, but I think inevitably we'll see that it will be inevitable that we'll use some kind of application doing that. IATA, the International Association of Air Transportation, is actually working on what they call it. They call it digital pass, which is effectively it's a digital kind of application that goes with your tickets. So any reservation on any airline reservation has got information about the PNR, what we call the PNR, which effectively your ticket and which segments you're going to fly. Then has got a layer of security information who says who are you, and it has got passport information. And I guess what's going to happen is it's going to have another layer, which will be the health information that's coming forward. Qantas has announced that unless you are vaccinated, you're not going to be able to fly, and therefore inevitably they'll do that. Singapore and Emirates and Qatar have done similar kind of things. They are playing with the technology, and they are putting these things forward. Now, there's a big issue with this thing that that's against our freedom. But as a passenger, and I used to travel twice a week, I would like to get on a plane and feel safe that when I get out of there, I'll still be safe. So the more we can do, especially until we get the herd immunization, that the more we do to be able to be safe, the better it is.
Yeah, I definitely do see those initiatives with a lot of airlines. I also was booking my flight with Emirates, and of course it flies from Mumbai to Dubai, Amsterdam, and they also have these new procedures which are set in place. So it's definitely interesting to see that not only hotels but also airlines are putting in such measures. And we
And
had an interesting.
you'll see after every big crisis, there are different things that we're doing. After September 11, the security procedures at the airport changed dramatically. And since we've got a lot of young people here, after the AIDS pandemic, the sex procedures changed dramatically. So after every crisis, there is something that we need to do to protect ourselves. And I think and all of those things are measures that we take that we don't necessarily like, but that will be probably what's going to happen here.
No, I think that is indeed a good point, that after every pandemic or major global event, we have definitely learned from it, and we try to sort of mitigate the impacts of it if something like that is supposed to happen in the future. But we did have a interesting question from David as well. That had to do more about UK and the changes in tourism that are taking place over there, and to what extent is COVID or Brexit responsible for these massive changes in tourism patterns in UK?
Okay. Brexit we haven't seen yet, in a way that because we've been constrained and locked in, we have not really seen the impacts of Brexit. You know, the long queues at the airport and a lot of things like that. A lot of people have not experienced yet. It's only truck drivers and those who were trying to export things in Europe and those who were trying to import things from Europe that have seen it. So Brexit so far, for the vast majority of the British people, has not been an event yet. It's going to hit them when we start going out. As far as the tourism industry and COVID is concerned, I think there are two issues here. One is the lockdown periods, which were catastrophic. Lockdown periods meant that operators could not operate, and they were under incredible pressure in terms of their liquidity, in terms of keeping their people and everything else. So that's the dark side. The sunshine side and the beautiful side is that people discovered what you see on my background. And it was funny because Bernardo was saying, "Where is this beautiful place?" And he couldn't believe that it's in Britain, and it is in Britain, especially if it's sunny. It is like that actually, and a lot of people were forced to actually do staycation, enjoy their own country, and they found how beautiful their country is. And the UK is very, very beautiful. What happens with the industry is quite interesting because, okay, they had the lockdown periods where they were losing money, the hemorrhage, and they had real difficulty in paying staff and furlough and all the rest of it. But when they are allowed to open, average occupancy, RevPAR, room rates have gone over the roof. So we are expecting this summer, as last summer as well. And last summer, we had a fantastic summer in the UK. Bournemouth had the highest prices ever in hotels. And we had so many people coming and staying in Bournemouth and enjoy our sources. And we're expecting that. And a lot of hoteliers have now invested incredible amount of money in developing new kind of services, and the local council is developing a range of different kinds of facilities on the beach, like much more food, entertainment, leisure kind of activities that are happening on the beach. And they're doing it in a way so they can ensure social distancing, because a lot of people, if you know the geography of Bournemouth, a lot of people are going to the pier, which is the bit that you have got at the back here. And they're going, it's a natural kind of attraction, it's very close to the gardens. What happens is that now what the council would like to do is would like to spread the people in the 9 miles beach that we have got. And what they're doing is they're planning for that. So the bad thing is obviously the lockdown periods. The good thing is that a lot of the British people had the opportunity to explore their country. And if the weather does well, and because that's the real thing in the UK, if the weather does well, we'll have a fantastic summer. We'll have a fantastic summer anyway, but if the weather does well, we'll have an enjoyable summer as well.
Absolutely. I think it's definitely some good points that you mentioned, that summer recovery seems to have a positive outlook taking place. Must be interesting, as I said earlier, to be a revenue manager in these times. And Bernardo, if shifting to Meliá Hotels for a moment, we have a great admirer of the Meliá brand, and Elena says that she believes it's one of the best examples of integrating sustainability. And she would like to know that because of COVID-19, has there been any significant changes or impact in the sustainability component of Meliá Hotels?
Thank you, Elena, for your question. Very interesting, and it's a great opportunity for me. First of all, I would like to say that to be sustainable is not a strategy; it's in the DNA of the companies and the people. So we have obviously our strategy and all our actions in place, but because the company manage our hotels and our strategy from the sustainable perspective. Let me share a couple of messages, three messages. One is in the short term, and during the COVID pandemic, we had hotels, what we called medicalized hotels, hotels where we converted some hotels in hospitals. So in different parts of the world, we had Barcelona, Kuala Lumpur, Mallorca. So some of our hotels became hospitals immediately. So this is part of our reaction and part of our commitment with the society. But the second level of commitment in the COVID-19 time, we had and we still have quarantine hotels, places in the world where people need to travel and they can stay in our hotel for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, it depends on the situation. So quarantine hotels has been part of our strategy in order to support the different cities and different destinations. And specifically during the COVID-19 time, we had campaigns in order to support our doctors, our nurses, our sanitary people, even fire brigades, even police, in order to use our facilities to relax a little bit after such hard times. So in the short term, very committed with the society. Message number two related to a little bit more medium and long term. Meliá has always been very involved with society, and especially in this part of the world, and especially in Southeast Asia. But let me mention today 3 specific programs. One is very obvious, which is SAFE. SAFE is a program we have implemented in our hotels a long time ago in order to optimize the use of energy and water. So this is something that is part of the regular management of our hotels. But 2 more projects we develop in the region and worldwide. One is called Soap for Hope. Soap for Hope is a program our hotels are committed just compiling the soap not used in the hotels and putting in such way that then we support communities in our countries in order to improve hygiene aspects of the community. Or Linen for Life. Linen for Life is we are using our linen from our hotels in order to produce some kind of dresses or some kind of masks. So we are involved with the society with programs like this one, right? Soap for Hope or Linen for Life. So I would like to conclude the question of Elena saying that, look, for me, from the strategic perspective, a hotel is not anymore a place where people go to sleep. And after the COVID-19, this change will be faster. A hotel should be a social epicenter. And hotel should be a place where we have rooms, but where we have co-working spaces and where we have long stay guests and where we have social activities. So basically, in my opinion, the strategic advantage is to convert our units not in beautiful rooms and beautiful business, but in social epicenters in order to have our hotels as a place where everything happens in a city or a destination. A multi-functional purpose is very interesting for the future of hospitality, in my opinion.
Thank you, Bernardo, for your insights. And Dimitrios, would you like to add to that?
Can I agree entirely with Bernardo, and I really like what Meliá is doing and a lot of other big chains. But actually, we need to recognize 2 things. that COVID took sustainability 5 to 10 years back. And the reason for that is that we were forced to use use plastic, and we were forced to keep throwing things away, both in the medical facilities, but also in hospitality. All the PPE, the protected equipment that we are wearing to serve our customers safely, for the safety of the staff and the safety of themselves, is incredibly damaging to the environment, because it's one way one use plastic stuff, all the masks that we're wearing, and you see that everywhere, you know. So I think COVID in general has brought sustainability back 100 times. However, COVID has actually reduced traveling, has reduced air transportation, and has brought forward digitization, which means that a lot of the things that we're doing physically, we'll do them digitally in the future. And that is a positive thing. So I think we really need to explore ways, because COVID will be with us for at least a couple of years, to kind of, now we understand the threat, we need to find ways to actually see how we can manage COVID in a more sustainable way, and also to look into how we can take our processes forward and digitize a lot of the things that can be digitized. So it's you know, a lot of the things that hotel chains were doing, and Meliá obviously is leading on that. But we need also to recognize the major setbacks that we had during COVID.
I think those are some valuable insights that have been brought about the whole notion of sustainability and the impact of COVID on it. And just having a small look at time, you know, before we conclude, I think I would just like to pose a question to both of you, and that is, how has COVID-19 sort of altered or furthered the definition of what hospitality means? There's a traditional definition of hospitality, and I think after COVID, we have sort of altered how we acknowledge hospitality in hotels. So how do you feel that has changed?
Bernardo, do you like me to go first? Okay. I think there are 2 or 3 conflicting things, and it's very interesting. I went out, you know, the pubs open on Monday in England, and I went out, and my first reaction when I saw so many people on the high street and so many people going to the pubs, I kind of thought, humans, and I kind of suffer from agoraphobia now. I start running in the opposite direction. On the other side, the conflicting outcome to that is that how many people absolutely need to go out and give a hug to people. And I was speaking to a small hotelier in Greece, and he called me and he said, Professor, you know, the hell with what you're saying. You are saying to protect ourselves and all the rest of it. But my friend arrived from Denmark the other day, and she has been coming to my hotel for 25 years. He came in, and we tried to do the distance, social distancing hug, you know. And he said within a second, we kind of hug each other and say what a bloody difficult year it has been, and how we love each other. And I think you see 2 conflicting trends. On the one side, you see people out there that they are kind of going for hygiene, going for the health kind of protection, especially those who are not vaccinated yet, and those who are vulnerable. And on the other side, you see that the need to actually come together and to be hospitable and to provide hospitality from the heart and get all the empathy out and engaging with our clients, with our guests, with our staff, and being what we do as humans best, which is hospitality from the heart. And I think that is something that has come out. What I'm very proud of the tourism hospitality industry around the world, especially all those people who came up and volunteered on different kind of resilient projects. They provided meals. There's a little restaurant in London that has provided 100,000 meals on a volunteer basis to the health system. and these are Nepalese guys, and they are running a very small restaurant in London, and I'm waiting for the restrictions to go and eat in that restaurant and make my excuse me, my donation back to the restaurant because of the level of hospitality and the level of humanity and solidarity that they demonstrated. So long answer to a short question, but hospitality, the humanity is coming out. For the time being, there's kind of a restraint on people to kind of get close to each other. But I think that also demonstrates how important that is to what we do.
Yeah.
From my side, I would like to highlight that hospitality is about taking care of people. It's about the word is care. It doesn't matter the circumstance. So what happens recently is everything has changed in a couple of months. But our responsibility is to take care of people under any circumstance. So in my opinion, the word is obviously resilience, but the word is speed. And speed we have to react, because it doesn't matter when a guest comes to our hotel, it doesn't matter if it's COVID situation or not COVID situation, we have to take care of them. So the response is how we, the hospitality world, is able to change the mind and adjust to the environment immediately. So in my opinion, we are having a very hard time, but this puts the hospitality in a challenge. And we have demonstrated that we can react quickly. And I'm sure in the next future, we will be more prepared for these kind of circumstances. So unfortunately, we had this situation, but in my opinion, the word is care and the word is speed. I still remember 10 years ago when I arrived to China, the situation that impacted me the more was the volume and the speed. Everything in China is extremely big, and everything in China happens very fast. So I take, in order to respond to your question, I take the word of care and speed. We have to take care of everyone. This is our responsibility. We love to do that. But at the same time, we have to achieve the ability to react fast. And if we have this capacity, we will be an essential part of the society. And I think this has been a very hard time, but it has been, or it is, a great opportunity for us as a professionals to be better for the future.
I think those are some great valuable lessons that we can learn as well. I think we are going back, not going back, but moving forward again from just seeing the customer as someone passive to actually taking the whole notion of human centricity and dynamic capabilities of keeping up with change, but seeing your customer as a whole human with emotions and feelings. But to conclude, once again, Professor Buhalis and Mr. Cabot, thank you so much for being with us here today. I'm sure that our audience, and I see some, not some, I see quite a few, some very positive feedback and applauses for the information provided by both of you. So once again, thank you for being here with us. And on behalf of everyone, I think your presence has really added quite a value to our understanding of what's happening in the world. So Tom, I hand it over. Oh. Please go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say it has been a pleasure. Thank you very much for this opportunity, and good evening from China.
Well, good evening, Bernardo. One thing that I think for me is one of the reasons why this was such a fruitful and fantastic discussion, which is a big applause. And what I would like, because I'm going to do it like this, but if people could type applause in the chat as a round of applause, to show the applause. But I think what shows that this is such a fruitful discussion is the fact how engaged people were in the chat, how many questions were popping by, and how many ideas and insights people had. And I think that is what really makes this a co-creative industry and resilience research symposium, to have people basically, that there are there are things that we basically had to leave and said, sorry, we can't cover all of it, but perhaps in a future discussion we'll be able to. So a big thank you to not just Bernardo and to Dimitrios, but also to you, Harmeet, for guiding this discussion and making sure that the audience was so engaged. Again, nothing but credit. A big round of applause.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, and then before we go back and forth thanking each other, and it's sort of like you hang up the phone first, I'm going to invite everyone to take a little coffee break. It's 11. We'll be back at 11:10, and then we'll continue this conference. If you feel like having a small coffee in the coffee corner here on stage, then please send me a little message. We are taking the time here always to, well, have some conversations about research, about what research you're doing or what was your first experience with research. And I think it is a fantastic opportunity to share some of your favorite moments with research or insights. Perhaps you'd like to share something of the conversation. So if you have something to share, please post a little message in chat, and then I'd be happy to invite you onto the stage.